All right, good morning everybody. And dun sa mga nag-174 kanina, good morning uli sa inyo mga ka-174 ano. Ngayon mag-151 naman tayo and we will discuss another type of differential equations and how to solve them. Pero before that, some reminders lang. Meron ba tayong homework na due na next week? Wala pa, no? But if I remember it correctly, I asked you last time to think about the possible shift to face-to-face mode right after the reading break. So I wrote it as homework number 5. So if you go to our Canvas page, punta kayo dun sa homework 5 na na page. Tapos meron dong link para dun sa Google Form. So pakisagutan na lang pasagutan na lang yung Google Form so that I know how to how to respond pag tinanong na kami ng institute or tinanong na kami tinanong na ako ng 151 committee if we want our class, the 151 classes this semester, to go face to face or not. The thing is subject pa rin yun sa availability ng rooms. I'm not sure if we can find a room. Pero tingnan natin. Kung kukonti lang yung mag-shift to face then pwede tayong makasingit if all of us agree na tayo ay magfa-face to face, alright? Pero ang isang disadvantage nga lang ng face-to-face ay wala tayong recording, ano? Though pwede ka naman pag-isipan ng paraan how to record, pero by default dapat umattend na kayo ng face-to-face. So hindi na natin kailangan yung technicalities of having it broadcasted or having it recorded, ano? So yun yung homework number 5. Sabi ni Dino, meron pa tayong homework. So kasi nga tinatadtad ko nga pala kayo ng homework, ano. So every after class meron tayong homework. But anyway, as I've mentioned, ngayon titingin pa tayo ng iba pang methods para mag-solve ng first order ODEs. And in this section, we'll be particularly looking at how to solve first order linear ODEs. So the method that I will teach you today ay mag-work sa kahit na anong linear ODE. Hindi katulad ng mga previous methods like separation of variables, yung substitution method whenever all of the components of the ODE are homogeneous or exact differential equations. Etong method na pag-uusapan natin today will work for any first-order linear ODE. Yun lang yung restriction niya. Dapat linear yung ODE na ating paglalaruan. And remember, an ODE is linear if and only if lahat ng multipliers dun sa dependent variable or kay y at saka dun sa mga derivatives niya ay linear lamang or linear functions lamang. Actually, hindi pala. So dapat si y at saka yung mga derivative. Sorry, I was cut off there. I was saying that an ODE is linear, okay? Kung meron tayong dapat walang komplikadong function kung saan na-involve si y prime, si y double prime until sa nth derivative ni y na involved doon sa linear ODE. Right, so dapat wala kang makitang y squared or y prime squared or cosine of y double prime or cosine of the nth derivative of y. So dapat linear lamang yung ating ODE in terms of the variables involving y. So yun yung ibig sabihin ng linear. Tapos first order, so ibig sabihin dapat first derivative lang yung makikita natin. Alright? So yun yung kaibahan ng methods ngayon. Ang advantage na, hindi natin kailangang i-check kung homogeneous ba yung terms ng ODE. Hindi natin kailangang i-check kung exact ba yung ODE. Kailangan lang nating tingnan, and this can be done by inspection, if our ODE is first order and if it is linear. And then we will introduce something we call the integrating factor para ma-solve yung isang first order linear ODE. So in general, an ODE that is of order 1 and that is linear is of this form. So ganito yung itsura ng mga linear ODEs kasi makita nyo, dy over dx or y prime lang yun nandyan. Tapos si y lang, hindi nagmi-mix yung mga variables na may y. Tapos walang powers si y prime at saka si y. So plain old basic linear function in the variables y and y prime lamang yung ating right-hand side. And then we shall assume dahil linear lamang yung mga ODEs, ano? So linear lamang yung ODE. So ibig sabihin yung coefficients ni y prime at saka ni y will be functions of the variable x alone. Kasi pag naging involved na dito si variable y, hindi na magiging linear etong term na to in the variable y. Okay? So kaya any linear differential equation of order 1 can be written of this form. Meron kang dy over dx multiplied by a function only of the variable x, tapos plus si y multiplied by a function only of the variable x, and then equals a forcing term that is only dependent on the variable x. Okay, so let me just reshare my screen for the benefit of those who just joined us. Alright? So ito yung itsura ng mga linear ODEs at sila yung ititingnan natin kung paano natin siya isosolve ngayon. Alright? So ito yung titingnan nyo. Alright? Again, dapat tingnan nyo si y prime. Dapat ang coefficient niya ay function lamang ni x. The function a need not be linear. Basta dapat function lamang siya ni x. Kahit may x squared yan, kahit may cosine x yan, okay lang. Ang sinasabi natin na linear dito, dapat linear in the variable y prime and y lamang. So whatever is multiplied to y prime should be a function of x alone, and whatever is multiplied to y is a function of x alone. Tapos yung right-hand side, dapat wala na ring variable y. Okay? So if your ODE is of this form, so kailangan nyo lang identify ano si capital A, ano si capital B, ano si capital C, and then we will write it in what we call the standard form. Okay, so what the standard form requires y prime to have unit coefficient. Dapat 1 lang yung coefficient ni dy over dx. So for us to do that, we'll just need to divide both sides of our ODE by a. So we'll get this one. Okay. So kasi nga kailangan dapat unit yung coefficient ni dy over dx. And then just for the sake of clarity of presentation, I will rename b over a to p, and I will rename c over a to q. So change of variables lamang. So kapag ka meron kang linear ODE of first order, kaya natin siyang isulat in this manner, the standard form. Again, in the standard form, we want dy over dx to be left alone as a term, plus a function of x times y equals a function purely of x. All right? So, pag nasa standard form na siya, magsisimula na tayo nung method na tinatawag nating method by integrating factor. Okay? So, dahil sinabi ko integrating factor, ang gusto natin ay makahanap ng appropriate function v na pwede kong i-multiply to both sides of the ODE in standard form. So standard form nyo muna siya, tapos maghahanap tayo ng integrating factor. Ang integrating factor na yon ay si v of x na ipang-multiply ko to both sides of the equation. Now, ano yung gusto kong maging property ng integrating factor, or what would be our criterion para masabi na yung function na ito ay yung integrating factor na kailangan ko? Gusto kong piliin si v so that the entire entire left-hand side of my ODE is basically the derivative of a product of two functions. Gusto ko tong maging derivative lamang din ang galing sa application ng product rule. Bakit kasi tingnan nyo to? Ito na yung v, tapos ito na si y prime. Alright? Gusto ko yung second factor ay yung manggagaling dun sa product rule. Alright? So, di ba, pag meron kang function, pag meron kang product ng dalawang functions, tapos kinuha mo yung derivative niya, you will just copy the first factor times the derivative of the second factor. So, ibig sabihin, ang pinag-multiply ko ay si vy. So, gusto ko ngayon si vy prime ay maging equal dito sa right-hand side. Right? So, tapos alam ko si vy prime ay equal na kay vy prime. So we already got that in the first term. And that's the reason why I want to write the ODE in standard form para yung multiplier kay dy over dx ay yung integrating factor na lang. Kasi yun yung first term doon sa product rule. Alright? And then product rule tells us magpa-plus pa ako dito ng y times the derivative of v. Right? So that means if I want the left-hand side of the ODE to be born out of the product rule, so that means the Vx times Px times y must be equal to V prime. Must be equal to V prime, period. Alright? Kasi si y na yung multiplier niya. Kasi nga gusto ko to maging kamukha ng product rule. Vy prime plus V prime y. So ibig sabihin, okay na tayo dito sa first term. Okay? Ang second term na lang natin yung magbibigay ng condition ano dapat yung itsura ni V. So dapat si V ay yung function such that V prime is equal to V times P. Alright? So I hope you get the idea kung paano ko pipiliin si V. So in summary, ito yung gusto kong mangyari. Okay? Si V is chosen so that V prime is equal to VP. But this ODE is separable. Para mahanap, gusto ko kasing mahanap ano yung itsura ni V. So pag sinote ko to, separable naman siya. So magkakaroon ng V prime over V equals P. Alright? So we'll have dV over V equals P dx. Kasi si P ay function ni X. Right? Tapos i-integrate ko lang both sides. So I'll get ln of the absolute value of V equals integral of P of X dx. Right? And then I can use both sides as an exponent to E. So I'll get I'll get V equals E to the power integral of P of X dx. Now this V is what we call the integrating factor. All right? So ang gagawin ko lang pala, kapag nasulat ko na yung ODE in standard form, remember the standard form is dy over dx plus P of X equals Q of X, all right? I will multiply both sides by the integrating factor, and the integrating factor is the function V of X equals e to the power of P of X dx. All right? Tapos pag nasulat ko na siya, or pag na-multiply ko na siya ng V of X, yung buong left-hand side magiging derivative na lang ng Vy prime. And I will show you later via the examples kung ano na yung gagawin natin pag nasulat na natin siya in this form. Okay? Is that clear? Clear ba yung ating plan? At least yung first half ng plan. Hanapin yung integrating factor. Una, isulat muna siya in standard form, tapos kukunin yung integrating factor. And I hope you get the idea why I am choosing V to be e to the power integral of P of X dx. Kasi nga gusto kong yung buong left-hand side maging derivative lamang na gagamitan ng chain rule. Gagamitan ng product rule. All right? So let's look at it via an example. Okay, maraming sinabi pero nasulat ko na siya. May summary ng gagawin. Diretso tayo sa examples. Okay? So, in this particular case, gusto ko munang isulat yung equation in standard form. But first check if this is, actually, pwede nyo i-check muna kung siya ay linear o hindi, pero mas okay na i-try muna siyang isulat in standard form. Definitely, this is of first order. Okay? Kasi nga, dy lang yung meron. So eventually, if you divide both sides by dx, you're gonna get dy over dx. So that's fine. So this is first order. We're just hoping that this is linear. All right? That this will be a linear ODE. But essentially, diretso ko na i-try siyang isulat in standard form. So let me start the solution this way. I'll copy the given, x to the fifth plus 3y dx minus x dy equals 0. So i-divide ko both sides muna by negative dx para mauna yung dy over dx. So magkakaroon ako ng dy over dx, then minus x to the fifth plus 3y. Nag-divide ako ng negative x, no? So magiging positive x na lang yan. equals 0. Tama ba? Nag-divide ako ng x, tapos pinagpalit ko yung sign, naging dy over dx. Okay? And then, gusto kong matira, remember the standard form is dy over dx plus some function of x times y equals a function of x alone. So kailangan itira ko dito sa second factor o sa second term yung may mamumultiply ng y. Okay? Tapos yung puro x lamang ililipat ko na dun sa right-hand side. Okay? So what I can do here is to write it as dy over dx. I'll split the sum. All right? So I'll have minus 3y. Tapos meron, sige, step by step ko na nga. So this would be quantity x to the fifth over x plus 3y over x equals 0. Gusto ko lang matira dun sa second term sa kaliwa yung merong multiplier na y. So itatranspose ko na yung puro x's lamang. Kasi yung puro x's lamang yung meron dun sa second term, siya yung magiging q of x natin. Okay? So what will happen is this, dy over dx minus 3 over x times y equals x to the fourth. Alright? Ito ay naging x to the fourth, pero ita-transpose ko siya sa kabila kasi wala siyang multiplier na y. Ang kailangan lang matira dito ay dy over dx minus, plus a function of x times y equals a function only of the variable x. So this is the standard form for the ODE. So indeed, this guy is linear. Okay? Tapos, ngayon, pwede ko nang i-define yung integrating factor. So the integrating factor siguro tawagin nating IF yung integrating factor ay yung function v such that it is equal to e to the integral of p of x dx. Now, what is p again? P is what was added to dy over dx. It is the second term doon sa ating left-hand side. But remember, the standard form is dy over dx plus p of x y equals q of x. So dapat plus yung middle sign dito, right? So that means p must be taken to be negative 3 over x. All right? So I'll put that here. So it's going to be e to the negative 3 over x dx. And then this would be e to the negative ln of the absolute value of x plus a constant c, right? In-integrate ko lang, parang kulang ako ng 3. So ito yung integrating factor. But if you can, simplify the integrating factor na kung kaya siyang i-simplify. And then part of the simplification is to just choose one among the antiderivatives as our integrating factor. So here I'll choose c to be equal to 0 para mas simple. Kailangan ko lang naman ay isang integrating factor. So I'll choose c equals 0 and then I'll simplify the exponential function. So the integrating factor now that we'll use is what? Yung negative 3 tataas siya, so magiging ln na lang siya ng x to the negative 3. Tapos naka-raise siya kay e. Ma-cancel lang yung e at saka yung ln kasi inverse sila ng isa't isa. So matitira na lamang ay x to the negative 3. So that would be our integrating factor. Okay? All good? I hope it is. Now, integrating factor na compute ko na si v, i-multiply ko both sides by the function v. So we'll have our ODE. Sige, next page na ako. Copy ko to. I-multiply ko both sides niya by the integrating factor. The integrating factor is x to the minus 3. So I'll have x to the minus 3 dy over dx minus x to the minus 3 times 3 over x y equals x to the minus 3 times x to the 4th. All right? So simplify, it's going to be x to the minus 3. This is y prime. Sige, dy over dx na kasi paghihiwalayin ko siya later. Okay. Then this is minus 3 over x to the minus 4y equals x. Okay? And then dahil piling-pili yung integrating factor, the effect of that choice is that this guy will simply be the derivative with respect to x ng x to the minus 3 times y. Okay? Kaya ito yung dahilan, di ba? Ang goal natin, hanapin yung integrating factor para yung buong left-hand side will be the derivative that is born out of the product rule, right? So, pwede nyo i-double check kung tama yung integrating factor nyo by expanding this derivative using the product rule, and hopefully you will come up with the left-hand side. So if I'll use the product rule here, I'll have x to the minus 3 times y prime, which is basically this, plus dapat 3, dapat x to the 4th yung nasa denominator. Thank you, Rensis. Plus, this would be y times x to the negative 4 times 3, which is 3 over x to the negative, x to the 4th, which is this guy, pag kinorek ko na siya. So, over 4 siya dapat. Okay? So again, dinoble check ko lang na derivative na to ay equal dito. And that is expected because that's how we chose the integrating factor. Okay? Eh sir, bakit maganda na ganyan yung nangyari? Well, I can just multiply both sides by the differential of x. Ito ay magiging differential ng x to the minus 3y equals x dx. Kasi ang gagawin ko ngayon, mag-i-integrate na ako both sides. I-integrate ako both sides, I'll get this. Tapos you can think of it as du. Integral lamang ng du where u is x cubed, x to the minus 3 times y. So parang single variable lang siya. Anong integral ng du? Integral ng du ay u plus c lang. So anong integral ng d x to the minus 3 times y? Siya lamang ay x to the minus 3 times y plus an arbitrary constant. Yun yung dahilan kung bakit gusto kong magkaroon ng integrating factor. Because the integrating factor will lead me to a derivative of a product, but I will multiply both sides by dx, so I'll be left with the differential of a function, of a product. Dahil meron akong differential of a product, i-integrate ko lang yan, so matitira lamang ay yung nasa loob ng differential. Okay? Tapos, integral ni x ay x squared over 2 plus the arbitrary constant c. Tama ba? X minus 3, x squared over 2. So ngayon, kaya kong isulat explicitly yung solution, right? So the solution now will be y equals, multiply ako ng x cubed. So it's x to the 5th over 2 plus c x to the 3rd. So this would be our solution. Okay? So that's the power of the integrating factor. Naging convenient yung solution kasi nga pinili natin yung integrating factor para magkaroon tayo ng isang derivative ng product dun sa left-hand side. Tapos i-multiply ko lang by the differential of the independent variable both sides. Mawawala to, matitira lang yung differential. Tapos pagdating ng integration, inverses lang sila ng isa't isa, matitira lamang yung function involved. Okay? Is that fine? Is that good? Ano lang yung posibleng complication dito? Ang complication dito ay pagkomplikado yung integrating factor. Sana hindi maging komplikado yung pagko-compute ng integrating factor. Another nice thing about this solution is madaling i-check kung tama pa ba yung ginagawa mo. So at this point, madali mong ma-check kung tama yung integrating factor mo if when you differentiate this using the product rule, you should end up with the left-hand side of the ODE. All right? So let's look at another example. Okay. So hold on, guys. Okay, may tanong si Gab. Paano napunta sa third line from the second line? Third line from the second line. You mean here in the left side? Okay. Eto. Parang ano to, nag-product rule ako ng pabaligtad. Alam ko yung sagot sa product rule, sinulat ko lang siya in the condensed form. All right? Because the idea, ganun yung, ito yung dahilan kung bakit pinili natin yung integrating factor to be e to the integral of p of x dx. Para pag minultiply ko both sides, etong magiging product doon sa left-hand side ng equation ay isang expression na nanggaling sa product rule. So ito ay application ng product rule pero pabaligtad. Alam ko yung sagot sa product rule, sinulat ko lang siya na product rule. Pero madali itong malaman kasi dapat kokopyahin mo lang yung first factor tapos yung y prime magiging y na lamang siya. Kasi nga pag nag-product rule ako dito, yung first term ay x to the minus 3 times dy over dx, which is basically that guy. Tapos plus derivative ni x to the minus 3, so that's negative 3, x to the minus 4, y, all right, which is essentially the second term. Okay? So, pabaligtad na product rule. Pero alam nyo na kung ano dapat yung i-differentiate dun sa product rule. Kopyahin nyo lang kung ano yung multiplier dyan, tapos instead na y prime, y lang yung isulat nyo. Yun yung makukuha nyo yun dapat yung i-differentiate nyo para makuha yung original left-hand side ng second line. Okay? Does that make sense? At saka pwede lang natin itong magawa kasi nga pinili natin in a nice way yung integrating factor. Alright, hindi ito mag-work kapag basta-basta yung function na kinuha natin. Alright? Okay, that's a good gab. Pero kung medyo malabo pa, okay lang yan. First time pa lang naman, tingin pa tayo ng examples. Mauumay tayo sa integrating factor. Ano? Actually, yung susunod na section, integrating factor pa rin yun. So don't worry, masasanay at masasanay din tayo. Alright, this example. So, una muna, i-divide ko both sides by, kasi nga gusto ko dy over dx yung first term. So, ang gagawin ko, i-divide ko all sides by x para mawala yung multiplier ni dy. Tapos gusto ko dy over dx, so i-divide ko all sides by dx na din. So, i-multiply ko all sides by x dx so that we'll get this. dy over dx na lamang. Tapos we'll have 2y plus 1 minus xy over x dx. Pero na-divide ko by dx, so maging equal kay 0. Alright? So this is derived by dividing both sides by x dx so that dy over dx becomes isolated as the first term. Yun yung gusto natin. So, papunta tayo sa standard form. Ano yung standard form? Dapat yung second term sa left-hand side dapat ay function na x lamang times y. So, ito lamang yung may, ito at saka ito yung may y. So, dapat matira sila. Yung 1 over x, dapat ilipat ko sa kanan. Alright? Kasi sa kanan yung q of x, yung forcing term. So, essentially, this will become dy over dx plus what? 2 minus x over xy equals negative 1 over x. Alright? So yung 1 over x dito na walang y, nilipat ko sa kanan, kaya nagkaroon ng negative 1 over x. And then I have 2y minus xy over x, finactor ko lang yung y. Kasi nga gusto ko itong second term ay p of x times y lamang. So this is our p of x. And that p of x is very important para sa integrating factor. Alright? Now, it is also crucial that the right-hand side is only a function of x. Kasi kung may y pa dito, meron pang intermediate step na kailangan gawin. Pero remember sa standard form natin, dapat q of x lang siya, a function purely of the variable x. So at least now, all of the criteria na kailangan natin for the solution by integrating factor is met. So now we can compute for the integrating factor. So the integrating factor is v of x, which is e to the integral of the multiplier to y. And that is 2 minus x all over x dx. Right? Pwede ko itong tingnan as e to the integral of 2 over x minus 1 dx. Sinimplify ko lang yung, or in-expand ko lang yung division. Alright? Kasi mas madali na itong i-integrate in this manner. So this is e to the 2 ln of absolute value of x minus x plus c. All right? And then gusto ko simple lang yung yung simple lang yung integrating factor kasi you could choose any constancy. Okay siya na maging integrating factor, pero for simplicity, I will choose c to be equal to 0. Okay? Pero kung gusto niyo magpasikat, sige, go ahead, choose your favorite number as c. Piliin niyo si pi, piliin niyo yung birthday niyo, bahala kayo. Pero ako, c equals 0 para mas simple yung calculations. So now we'll have the integrating factor e to the, so isulat ko lang siya in another form, ln of x squared times e to the minus x. Alright? So loss of logarithms lang yung 2 na multiplier kay ln, magiging exponent ng argument. Hence the ln x squared there. Tapos may minus x dyan. So loss of exponents naman e to the minus x. Wala akong problema kay c kasi si c ay pinili ko to be equal to 0. And then I can simplify this further. So it's going to be x squared e to the minus x. That's our integrating factor. Okay? Tapos gagawin ko na sa next page yung pag-multiply doon sa buong ODE. Okay? So this is our integrating factor. Tandaan ko lang x squared e to the minus x. Right? Okay, so we multiply both sides of our equation by the integrating factor. So we'll have x squared e to the minus x times dy over dx plus, mali pala yung nakopy ko, no? So this should be x squared e to the minus x times 2 minus x over xy. Tama ba? Yun, no? Equals negative, times x squared e to the minus x times negative 1 over x. Yun yung right-hand side. I hope I got it right. Okay? Tapos, maganda yung pagkakapili natin ng integrating factor. It is chosen so that the entire left-hand side will be the product of the product rule. Dapat siya yung maging resulta mula sa product rule. And there, it would be the derivative of a product, namely x squared e to the minus x times y. Again, alam ko na yung hula ko kung ano yung nasa loob ng derivative ng product rule. Kukopyahin ko to, tapos yung y prime papalitan ko ng y. Para ito ay x, ito yung integrating factor times y prime. Ito na lang yung problema natin. Dapat ito ay maging equal sa y times the derivative of the integrating factor. Kung gusto nyo i-check, well, expand nyo lang to. Ito ay x squared e to the minus x times y prime. Okay, nakuha natin yung first term. Tapos yung second term ay plus. Okay, derivative ng x squared e to the minus x, kailangan ko mag-product rule. X squared e to the minus x times negative 1 plus 2x e to the minus x times y. And do we get that? 2x minus x squared, cancel yung x. Yeah, and that would be that, right? Pag sinimplify. And then the right-hand side will be what? It will be x, negative x e to the minus x. Alright? Tapos, bakit gusto natin na maging resulta ng product rule yung left-hand side para yun ay para ito ay maging isang derivative lamang. Derivative with respect to x of this guy. Now, I can treat this as a fraction, yung parang cardinal sin down nung calculus pero ginagamit natin siya later on, right? So, pwede kong i-multiply both sides by the differential of x. So, this would be differential na lang ng x squared e to the minus x times y equals negative x e to the minus x dx. And we have this. We'll just need to integrate both sides. Okay, integrating will give us x squared e to the minus xy. Okay, kasi parang du nga lang yan. So ang integral ng du ay u plus c. So ito yung u natin. Nandito siya. Yung arbitrary constant, ikakabit ko na lang dun sa integral dito. Alright. So this would be the negative of the integral of x e to the minus x dx. Kailangan natin itong i-integrate. Ngayon, para ma-integrate ito, kailangan ko mag-IBP. So gagawin ko na lang tabular IBP. Using tabular IBP. Yung makukuha ko. Choice ko ay U. Choice ko for DV. Choice ko kay U ay yung madaling i-differentiate. So si X yung factor na madaling i-differentiate. So siya yung gagawin kong U. Tapos ang DV yung madaling i-integrate. So I don't have any choice here. DV is e to the minus x. I-integrate ko lang siya. Negative e to the minus x. Then e to the minus x minus e to the minus x. Tapos ano to? Diagonal product. Tapos alternating sign. Right? So therefore, makukuha na natin yung solution. X squared e to the minus xy equals the negative kung ano man yung integral na manggagaling dun sa IBP. What we'll get is negative x e to the minus x minus e to the minus x. Then sa labas ko na lang ilagay yung plus c. Alright? Tapos simplify ko lang to. This would be x squared e to the minus xy equals x e to the minus x plus e to the minus x plus the constant c. And then I can write this explicitly in terms of x. So this would be x e to the minus x all over x squared e to the minus x plus e to the minus x over x squared e to the minus x plus c over the same guy. Pinag-iwahiwalay ko siya kasi hopeful ako na may mga cancel, no? Yeah, this is canceled by that. So we'll just have x to the negative 1. Then here, this will be canceled. Plus x to the minus 2 plus c times x squared e to the minus x raised to the negative 1. Okay? And that would be our final answer. So, ulit na lang natin yan and then highlight this guy. So, yun pa rin. Integration techniques pa rin yung kailangan natin dito sa portion na to. Okay? Okay, so you can take your screenshots. Pero yung actual solution ay nandun naman sa handouts na sinend ko, no? Yung nasa module. Pero mas gusto ko kasi na naka-handwritten kesa yung pumipindot lang ako ng PowerPoint. Okay? Okay na ba? Kaya na mag-quiz? Or kailangan ng practice? Kailangan ng practice, ano? So let's try another one. Okay. Ito yung sabi ko na dadagdagan natin ng konting mga word problems yung ating session. So ibig sabihin nito hindi ko na naman matatapos yung nasa study guide. But anyway, so let's look at this example. So this is a mixture problem, all right? So we will assume here that we have a 600-gallon tank. So ito daw yung tank. Pagpasensya nyo na yung drawing. It's filled with 300 gallons of pure water. So pure water to. Then a salt solution containing 1.5 pounds of salt per gallon of solution is pumped into the tank at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. So dito, nagpa-pump tayo ng isang solution at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. Tapos yung pinapump natin, etong orange na liquid na yan, it is pumped at 3 gallons per minute pero concentrated to na 1.5 pound or 1.5 pounds of salt per gallon. So yun yung pumapasok. All right? And then at the same time, water is let out of the tank at the rate of 1 gallon per minute. So ibig sabihin, bukas din yung faucet dito sa ilalim. So may lumalabas na solution dito at the rate of 1 gallon per minute. Okay? And then we will assume that there is a perfect mixing of the solutions. So pure water, tapos binuksan natin yung faucet na to, nagpump tayo ng 3 gallons per minute ng liquid. Yung liquid na yon ay may laman na 1.5 pounds of salt per gallon. All right? So, edi nadadagdagan to. Then we will assume that that the pure water and the salt solution mixes perfectly. Tapos, magpapakawala tayo ng 1 gallon per minute. So that's essentially what the problem says. Now, the question is, how much salt is in the tank at the precise moment that it is full? Gaano karaming asin yung nandoon sa solution kapag ka napuno na yung tank? Or at that precise moment that the tank is full. So parang isang moment lang yon kasi pag napuno na siya, tumataga siya. So mababawasan na siya. Alright? So ang tanong natin ay kailan siya magiging puno? Right? And then we'll use ODEs para ma-solve itong problem na to. Okay? Does the problem make sense? Simple lang naman yung problem, ano, medyo mahirap nga lang siyang i-model or kailangan careful tayo dun sa pag-model. Okay? Now, let's do it. Oops, nasa na yung pinace ko? Okay. So tingnan natin. We'll be looking for the amount of salt. So what I'll do here is I will let S of t to be the amount of salt at time t. Amount of salt in the tank at time t. Right? So this means S of 0 is what? What do you think is S of 0? Kasi magiging ano to, initial value problem. Okay, Dino is correct. S of 0 is 0 kasi nga before the pumping happens, pure water yung nandun sa pure water yung nandito sa dun sa ating tank. So dahil pure water siya, wala pang salt na nandun sa tank. Pero pagka nag-start na yung experiment, mag-start na tayo mag-pump ng salt solution containing 1.5 pounds of salt per gallon at a rate of 3 gallons per minute, tapos magpapakawala tayo ng 1 gallon per minute. Okay? So let's see. Ano yung susunod kong kailangang computin? Well, we need to take into account how much salt comes into the tank at any given point, right? So, tingnan natin yung amount of salt that comes in. Amount of salt that comes in. Or basically, yung rate na lang siguro. Rate of the salt. Yeah, tingnan ko na lang yung rate. Tawagin ko siyang rate in. Gaano kabilis yung pagdagdag ng salt doon sa solution? Well, saan ba tayo nagkakaroon ng salt? Nagkakaroon lang tayo ng salt dahil dun sa pagpump nung salt solution. So that means we are pumping liquid or the solution at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. Pero ang laman na salt lamang noong solution na yon ay 1.5 pounds per gallon. So that means ang rate at which salt is being poured into the tank is what? Is 4.5. Ma-cancel yung gallons, magiging pounds per minute. So ito yung amount of salt that comes in the tank. So nagkakaroon tayo ng salt or nadadagdagan yung salt doon sa tank at a rate of 4.5 pounds per minute. Okay? Pero hindi lang to yung papasok sa ating ODE. Kasi nga, at the same time that the solution is being pumped into the tank, part of that solution is being let out of the tank. So may nawawala. Alright? So titingnan natin yung amount of salt that comes out. Salt that comes out. So meaning ito yung rate out naman. At what rate is the salt coming out of the solution? Well, nagtatanggal tayo ng tubig at a rate of 1 gallon per minute. Pero dun sa isang galon na yon, ang laman niya na salt ay ilan? Ang laman niya na salt ay ano yung multiplier? Tingnan, ano yung multiplier ko dito? 1.5 gallon per gallon. Nice try, Reynald and Rensis. Pero ang idea, hindi na siya 1.5 pound per gallon. Kasi nga, 1.5 pound per gallon dun sa original solution. Pero dahil meron ako ditong 300 gallons, tapos nagdagdag ako dito ng solution na may 1.5 pound per gallon, so ibig sabihin na-dilute na yung salt dito. Mas kukonti na yung salt per gallon. Kasi nga 1.5 per gallon dun sa original solution, pero nadadagdagan na siya ng water, so nadidilute na siya. 0.5. Actually, kailangan nating tingnan ano yung concentration. Ano? So, kailangan natin, but I think all of us agree, we need to find, so meron tayong 1 gallon per minute, kailangan kong malaman yung concentration nung lumalabas. What is the concentration nung green solution? Ano, gaano karaming salt per gallons yung nandoon dun sa lumalabas dun sa tank. So kailangan ko yung concentration niya at a particular time, t. We will see that this will vary in time. Bakit siya mag-vary in time? Kasi nga, nagpa-pump tayo ng solution at a constant concentration of 1.5 pound per gallon. Pero itong water na to ay nagbabago per unit time. Kasi merong nababawas, may nadadagdag. So ibig sabihin yung concentration ng salt ay nagbabago rin with respect to time. So kailangan ko itong i-model. Pero ano ba yung concentration? Tawagin ko C yung concentration. Yung concentration would be, ito yung amount of salt in pounds, divided by, ano yung pang-divide natin sa concentration? Di ba gallons? It's pounds per gallon. So ibig sabihin, ang nandito ay volume of the solution. So, yung concentration ng salt na lumalabas is the amount of salt at the particular time kung kailan lumalabas yung water, yung solution, divided by the volume of the solution in the tank at that particular time, t. Alright? So, ano ba yung amount ng salt at a particular time, t? Well, nilet natin siya to be our S of t. So, ito yung S of t. Tapos ano yung volume noong water at a time t dito sa ating tank? Kasi kailangan ko yung volume. Well, tingnan lang natin ano yung net effect, ano? So, at a particular time or at a particular moment in time, may pumapasok na water at a rate of 3 gallon or 3 gallons per minute. May lumalabas na 1 gallon per minute. So, ibig sabihin na babawasan yung ating volume nadadagdagan yung ating volume by what? By 2 gallons per minute. Tapos originally, gaano karami yung laman nung tank? 300 gallons. So ibig sabihin, yung 300 gallons ay nadadagdagan by a net of 2 gallons per minute. Okay? Kasi nga, nagdadagdag tayo ng 3 gallons per minute, tapos nagbabawas ako ng 1 gallon per minute, so merong net effect na plus 2 gallons per minute. Para malaman ko yung total volume na nadadagdag, i-multiply ko yung 2 gallons per minute by the time, how much time elapsed. So ibig sabihin, maka-cancel yung time doon, so matitira na lang ay 2 times t, or maka-cancel yung gallons, matitira na lang ay 2t. So at a particular time, t, ang amount of water in the tank is 2t. 300 plus 2t, right? Yung 300, yung original na laman, yung 2t, siya yung nadadagdag, siya yung net effect nung pagpa-pump into and pagpa-pump out of the tank. So ito yung ating concentration. So ibig sabihin, ito yung lalabas. Oops. So yung S, ang unit of measure niya ay pounds. Ito ay gallons, yung unit of measure niya kasi volume niya. So magma-match din ito. So ito ay pounds per gallon. So ito ay 300 plus 2T. Tapos ma-cancel yung gallons. So rate out ay pounds per minute pa rin. Kasi nga amount siya ng salt na nakakawala per unit time. Okay? So medyo komplikado yung rate out. So therefore, here's our model for this phenomenon. Ano? So yung total rate of change nung amount ng salt. So ang amount of salt natin ay S. So ang derivative ni S with respect to T is the rate at which salt changes doon sa solution. Okay? And this is equal to the rate in. Ano yung rate in natin? Ang rate in natin ay constant na 4.5. Ito yung nadadagdag. 4.5 pounds of salt is being pumped into the solution per minute. Tapos yung lumalabas ay medyo variable. Ito yung lumalabas. So minus yung lumalabas na amount ng or yung rate ng paglabas ng salt, it is S of T over 300 plus 2T. And this is our model. Okay? All right, does this make sense? Ang dami nangyari, no? Kailangan nating i-analyze talaga ano yung dynamics ng problem. Ano yung pumapasok, ano yung lumalabas, ano yung rate kung saan pumapasok yung salt, at ano yung rate at which siya ay lumalabas. Pero yung rate at which the salt amount or the amount of salt in the solution changes ay nakadepende pa rin doon sa bilis ng pagtagas ng solution in and out of the tank. But essentially, this is what we have. And then what I'll just do is to transpose this term to the left. So we'll have ds over dt plus s of t. I'll just write s for brevity. So this will be 1 over 300 plus 2t times s equals 4.5. And this guy, or this equation, is in standard form. ds lang yun nandito, kasi ito ay p of t lamang, function of time, times the dependent variable equals a function of t alone. Which is, but this is better because it is just a constant. So essentially, we have a first order linear equation na naka-standard form na in this expression. Okay? Kasi solve ko na to by integrating factor. Tanaw ko sa next page. Paste ko yung ating, oops. Bakit lagi nawawala yung pinipaste ko? So kung ito yung ating ODE, so ang integrating factor natin ay v of t, kasi ang independent variable natin ay time. This would be the integral of e to the 1 over 300 plus 2t dt. All right. And this is equal to e to the L, what? Magle-lefty pa ako dito na 300 plus 2t. So that means du is equal to 2 dt. So dt equals du over 2. So this will be 1/2 ln ng absolute value ng 300 plus 2t plus the arbitrary constant c. All right? Tapos isi-simplify ko muna yung integrating factor para mas madali siyang i-work out. So I'll choose c equals 0 and simplify. So we'll have the integrating factor equal to, so ito ay aakyat as a exponent there. E will cancel each other out. So we'll have square root ng 300 plus 2t. Siya yung ating integrating factor. Okay? Now I have the integrating factor, so I'll multiply both sides of our ODE by the integrating factor. So hence, ito yung mangyayari. Magkakaroon tayo ng square root ng 300 plus 2t times ds over dt plus square root ng 300 plus 2t times 1 over 300 plus 2t times s equals 4.5 square root ng 300 plus 2t. Okay, so nag-multiply lang ako ng integrating factor to both sides. And then we have chosen the multiplier to be an integrating factor. So the left-hand side should be a product of the product rule. Dapat resulta siya ng product rule. And our candidate is that it is the derivative with respect to the independent variable. Kakopyahin ko lang to, tapos ito papalitan ko ng s. So this will be derivative ng 300 plus 2t times s. Okay, let's check kung tama ba yan. Tama ba yan? So, expand ko lang yung derivative na yan. Magkakaroon ako ng 300 plus 2t times s prime plus, copy the second, times derivative of the first. Derivative nito ay 1/2 300 plus 2t raised to the negative 1/2 times 2. Right? Na-cancel si 2. So, magiging 1 over square root ng 300 plus 2t, which is exactly this one after simplification. Okay? Kasi ito ay maka-cancel, magtitira ng square root dyan. Oops, that's exactly what we wanted. Okay? So I think everything is in order here. So yung right-hand side na lang natin ay 4.5 square root ng 300 plus 2t. Okay? Tapos, gagawin ko na. Multiply ako ng dt to both sides para ito na lang yung matira sa left. Equals 4.5 square root ng 300 plus 2t times dt. Tapos I will integrate. Pagod na ba? Hopefully you're still there. Andaya ako lang yung nagsosolve, no? Kaya babawi ako sa mga homeworks nyo. So dapat nagsosolve din kayo. Alright? So essentially now, what we have is, we'll have square root ng 300 plus 2t times s equals sa integral nito. So labas ko lang yung constant, 4.5 integral ng 300 plus 2t raised to the 1/2 dt. Pagpasensyahan nyo na ako, hindi ko kaya yung minimental yung integration. So, magle-let you pa ako dito sa gilid, which would be 300 plus 2t. So, du would be what? 2 dt. So, that means dt equals du over 2. So, ito ay magiging 4.5 over 2 times integral ng u to the 1/2 du, which is essentially 4.5 over 2 times u to the 3/2 over 3/2 plus an arbitrary constant c. Tapos yung 2 na to maka-cancel by the 3 there. Tapos magkakaroon ako ng 4.5 divided by 3. So that's going to be 1.5 u to the 3/2. Pero si u ay 300 plus 2t to the 3/2 plus the arbitrary constant c, and that would be this, 300 plus 2t s. Okay? So this means s is equal to what? It's 1.5, 300 plus 2t to the 3/2 divided by the square root of 300 plus 2t plus c over square root ng 300 plus 2t. Okay? O, kaya lang dito, ito ay to the 1/2. So, magkakaroon ng minus 1/2 doon. So, ito ay magiging 1 na lamang. Okay? So, this is our general solution to the ODE. Okay? Tama ba yung mga pinagagawa ko? Hopefully, I didn't commit any boo-boo on the side. Okay? Kaya lang, di pa tayo tapos kasi actual problem yung tinatanong. Hindi lang general solution. Remember, our problem is to find how much salt is in the solution at the particular time when the tank is full, right? So, ngayon magsa-substitute ako dito ng t. Pero ang problema ko ay meron pa tayong constant c dito, right? But remember, we have the initial condition. So remember, we know that s of 0 is equal to 0. So that means, paste ko yung aking solution. Oops, laki pala niya. Nangyari. Okay, there we go. Ito yung solution natin. So when t is equal to 0, si s dapat daw ay 0. So we'll have 0 equals 1.5 times 300 plus c over square root of 300. All right? Kasi ang initial condition natin, when t is 0, s must be equal to 0. So plug those values in, and then we can now solve for c. So that means we'll have 0 equals what? 450 plus c over 10 square root of 3. Tama ba? Then we'll have c over 10 square root of 3 equals negative 450. That means c equals negative 4,500 square root of 3. So ito yung ating value ni c. Therefore, our solution is actually this. The particular solution for our problem is 1.5 times 300 plus 2t minus 4,500 cube root square root of 3 over square root ng 300 plus 2t. Okay? So ano na yung last step? Kailangan i-plug in natin dito yung time kung kailan puno yung yung tank, right? So note that the tank is full when its volume is 600, right? So basically, ang gusto natin yung volume dapat maging equal kay 600. But we have computed this earlier. Remember dun sa pagko-compute natin ng concentration? We know that the volume is 300 plus 2t. And we want to find the time value at which 300 plus 2t is equal to 600. So this would be 2t equals 300, so t equals 150. So after 150 minutes, saka pa lang mapupuno yung ating tank. All right? So therefore, the amount of salt in the solution when the tank is full is S of 150, right? Tapos dun sa ating S, which is this guy, i-plug in nyo lamang yung T equals 150, all right? And if you do so, I guess you will get something around 582 pounds. Ang daming salt pala no? 582 pounds, so that's roughly around 250 kilos of salt that is in the tank. Okay? Kapagod, no? Any questions? Andyan pa ba kayo? Baka iniwan nyo na ako nung nagpakita ako ng word problem. Isa yun sa mga problema kasi laging sinasabi ng mga estudyante, kailan ba natin gagamitin yung mga pinag-aaralan natin sa math? Tapos pag nagbigay naman kami ng word problem, magagalit kasi mahirap naman daw. So yun yung medyo dilemma. May magandang question si Jeff. Sir, pwedeng paulit kung bakit pwedeng pumili ng kahit anong value for C sa integrating factor? Yeah, nice question. Bakit ka pwedeng pumili ng kahit anong value ng C sa integrating factor? Kasi lahat ng V, lipat ako ng slides. Lahat ng V na nakakasatisfy nito, ano nga yan? V prime equals VP. Any function V that satisfies V prime equals VP will give us the wanted form, right? Siya yung magbibigay sa atin, remember, nagsimula tayo sa dy over dx plus py equals q. Now, pag pumili ako ng function v, kahit anong function v, na ang derivative niya ay equal kay vp, pwede ako mag-multiply both sides dito ng v. Alright? So, ganyan yung mangyayari. Tapos, look at this. This is exactly the derivative of v times y. Kasi bakit? Derivative ng v times y ay v times y prime plus derivative ni v, pero ang derivative ni v ay pv times y. Essentially, this would be fine as long as v prime equals vp. So, ang tanging criteria lang natin para sa integrating factor, dapat ang derivative ng integrating factor ay equal sa sarili niya times p. Yun lang yung condition. Pero nung sinolve natin to, ang nakuha natin dito si v ay e to the integral of p of x dx. Tapos pag nag-integrate ka dito, pag nag-integrate ka nito, laging may plus c na kasama. So, ibig sabihin, kahit anong plus c yung piliin mo dun sa integral na to, yung v prime ay magiging equal pa rin kay vp. And so, nasa-satisfy pa rin yung gusto natin dun sa stopping criterion, dun sa ating integrating factor criterion. Okay? So, kasi hindi magma-matter yung plus c once we take the derivative of this form. So si Reynald may sabi, hindi po ba dun sa IF, if 1/2 po to remove px from being a fraction, di po ba dapat 1/2 ln ng 150 plus t? Sa integrating factor. So here. Saan part yon, Reynald? Dun ba sa integration? Top left. So dito? Okay. So nangyari dito ay nag-let u ako to be equal to 300 plus 2t. So that means du will be 2 dt. So ibig sabihin si dt mapapalitan ng du over 2. So pagpunta ko dun sa integral, magkakaroon ako ng si dt mapapalitan ng du over 2. So naging du over 2 siya divided by 300 plus 2t, which is u. Kaya magiging e to the 1/2 integral ng du over u, magiging e to the 1/2 ln ng absolute value ng u plus c. So hindi mababago yung u. Sorry, medyo nag-attempt ako din na mag-shortcut. Pero yeah, ginawa ko to kagabi. Kinompute ko na kagabi, kaya alam ko na yung magiging itsura. Pero kung sa totoong buhay, kailangan ko yung LNU. Kailangan ko itong letting statement na to para ma-solve siya. So kung kailangan yung gawin yon para hindi kayo ma-lost dun sa solution, do it. Alright? Kasi ako, pag nagagawa ng answer key, kasama rin to. Kasi hindi ko kayang i-mental yung mga integration na yan. Okay? So wag kayong mahiyang isulat yung mga simpleng parts ng solution. Okay? Alright? Other questions? Medyo marami lang nangyayari, no? Pero hopefully it's manageable. Pwede pa tayo mag-isang example. Okay. Siguro ito pa, isa pang example. Unless meron pa kayong questions para ubusin yung oras. This is a peculiar case. Let's try this one. Let's try y prime plus x minus 1 y equals x minus 1 y cubed. Okay. So this is almost in standard form na linear ODE, pero hindi siya linear ODE kasi hindi natin siya nasulat purely in the form that we wanted sa standard form. Ano yung problema? Bakit hindi to naka-standard form ng linear first order ODE? Bakit siya disqualified sa pagiging first order linear ODE? Okay, Dino is correct. Meron kang y to the negative 3, meron kang y to the third dito sa left-hand side, sa right-hand side. Di ba sabi natin dapat dy over dx plus a function purely of x times y equals a function purely of x. Yeah, thank you, Syra, Billy, Justin, and Dino. Tama kayong lahat kasi may y cube na panggulo doon. Okay? Paano natin to isosolve? Actually, pwede pa rin kung power lang ni y, yung pampagulo dun sa right-hand side, and otherwise it's in the standard form of a first-order linear ODE, pwede pa rin natin tong isolve via integrating factor. Ang tawag natin dito ay isa siyang Bernoulli equation. Okay. Ang general form ng Bernoulli's equation, y to the power n. Okay? So ito ay isang specific Bernoulli equation na ang n ay equal kay 3. Ibig sabihin may panggulong y to the third power dun sa right-hand side. Ito yung susunod na topic, pero at least i-introduce ko na sa inyo kung paano siya gagawin. Kasi basically, it's a solution by integrating factor na rin naman. Meron nga lang substitution na mangyayari. So the first thing that you'll need to do is to divide both sides by y to the power n. Kung ano man yung panggulo dyan, i-divide nyo both sides ng equation. Okay? So doing so will give us y to the negative 3, y prime, plus x minus 1 times y to the negative 2 equals x minus 1. Okay? So dinivide ko lang both sides ng pampagulo na y to the third. So yung right-hand side na solution na natin. Function na lang siya entirely of x. Ito rin, function na rin siya entirely of x. Ang problema na lang natin, hindi to unit, hindi siya 1, tapos hindi to y, para maging standard form na rin siya. Pero we can introduce a change in the dependent variable. Ano yung change? I will let, ano ang gusto ko? Dapat ito ay y lang supposedly. Right? Or dependent variable lang siya supposedly. So what I'll do is to let z to be equal to y to the negative 2. Kung ano man yung nandito. Para ito, magiging z na lang, tas hoping ako na ito ay magiging 1. Or kaya kong gawing 1, tapos z prime na lamang. Yun nandito, para maging standard form na siya ng first order linear equation. Okay? So, but remember, when you change the dependent variable, we should also change the differential. So that means dz will be equal to what? Negative 2y to the negative 3 dy. Okay? Ibig sabihin, pag nakakita ako ng y to the negative 3 dy, mapapalitan lang siya ng dz over negative 2. Right? So sige, sulat natin yon. So ang y to the negative 3 dy ay equal kay dz over negative 2. And luckily, there you go. Meron ng y to the negative 3 times y prime. Madali bang gawin yung y prime? May kulang doon sa substitution ka. dz dy, y prime. Alright. So tama. I-divide ko pa to dapat by dx both sides para makuha ko yung gusto kong mangyari. Right? Kasi kulang. So kasi tama, ito lang yun, no? Hold on. Ito yung change in the differential. Pero ito nga pala ay dy over dx. So para malaman ko kung ano yung pampalit ko sa dy over dx na may panggulong y to the negative 3, kailangan ko pa itong i-divide by dx. So ibig sabihin, whatever y to the negative 3 times y prime na makikita ko, papalitan ko dapat ng dz over dx over negative 2. But that's exactly this guy. So hence, we will have negative 1/2 times dz over dx plus x minus 1, and then the y to the negative 2 was replaced by z equals x minus 1. And then I'll divide both sides by negative 1/2 para maging unit yung coefficient nito. So ito yung magiging dz over dx minus 2x minus 1 times z equals negative 2 times x minus 1. Tapos, naka-standard form na siya, right? Kasi ito ay z, function lamang ni x, tapos z, tas function lang ni x. It is now in standard form. Tapos pwede ko na siya ngayong hanapan ng integrating factor. Alright? So the integrating factor here would be this. V of x pa rin, e to the integral ng negative 2 times x minus 1 dx. Alright? Kasi ito pa rin yung p kasama yung negative sign papunta ron. Okay? Tapos mag-i-integrate na tayo ngayon para makuha yung integrating factor. So this would be e to the negative x squared plus x plus constant c. Tama ba? Negative 2x, negative 2x plus 1. Right. Okay. So we will choose c equals 0 kasi kahit anong integrating factor na ganito yung itsura pwede. So kahit anong c pwede nyong gamitin. Pero for simplicity, I'm going to choose c equals 0. So my integrating factor is e to the minus x squared plus x. Okay. And this is what I'll multiply to both sides of our ODE. So I'll have e to the minus x squared plus x times dz over dx minus e to the minus x squared plus x times 2 times x minus 1 z equals, yung right-hand side ay e to the minus x squared plus x times 2 times may negative pala doon. So 1 minus x na lang. Hindi ba negative x? Negative x saan?
May integral part po, sir.
Yung integral part. Dito. So, negative 2x, negative x. Di ba tama na plus x? Kasi may negative 2, tapos negative 1. So, maging positive 2. Nawala yung, wait. Nawala yung positive 2 pala. Sorry. Dapat siya ay positive 2. Yeah, thank you, Arensis. Yeah, 2x siya dapat. Thank you, 2x. So, lahat ito ay 2x, 2x. There you go. Okay? All right, thank you. Sinabi mo pala na negative x squared plus 2x plus c. Okay, so I think this is good. Integrating factors, so we have chosen it nicely so that the entire left-hand side is the result of the product rule. So it's going to be the derivative with respect to x ng e to the minus x squared plus 2x, okay, times z equals e to the minus x squared plus 2x times 2 times 1 minus x. Okay, x minus 1 siya, kaya lang merong negative sa labas kanina, kaya sinulat ko na lang siya na 1 minus x. And then you can check, pag in-integrate, pag dinifferentiate nyo to, makukuha nyo ito. Okay? So therefore, I'll multiply both sides now by the differential of the dependent variable. We'll have the derivative ng e to the minus x squared plus 2x, or the differential of e to the minus x squared plus 2x times z equals e to the minus x squared plus 2x times 2 times 1 minus x dx. Okay? Tapos mag-i-integrate tayo both sides. So matitira sa left, madali lang. E to the minus x squared plus 2x times z lamang. Sa kanan, medyo magle-let you ka pa dyan. Pero double check, ginawa ko na to kagabi. Ang sagot ko ay, sana tama. Ang sagot ko ay, nasa na yung sagot ko? Ang sagot ko ay e to the minus x squared plus 2x plus c. Okay. Kasi pag nag-let you ka rito to be this guy, ile-let you mo lang ito, so ang du ay exactly this. So ito ay magiging du, e to the u lamang, so it would be e to the u plus c pala sa baba. Okay? And then I'll multiply both sides by, or I'll divide both sides by this guy. So matitira na lang ay 1 plus e to the x squared minus 2x times c. Multiply ko both sides by e to the e to the x squared minus 2x para ito ay maging 1. So ito ay mamumultiply, magiging 1 lang din siya, tapos x squared minus 2x. And then I'll revert to the original variable. Remember that z was let to be y to the negative 3. Tama ba? Yan nga ba yung nilet natin? Yeah, z is y to the negative 2. So y to the negative 2. So ito ay magiging, papalitan ko lang ng y to the negative 2. And we're done. That's the general solution. Okay. So probably on kailan ba susunod? On Wednesday, we will look at another example of Bernoulli's equation. Pero nakita niyo na sa Bernoulli's equation, ano pa rin siya, integrating factor yung method. Ang gagawin nga lang natin muna, i-divide natin both sides by whatever the extra y power that is present on the right-hand side. Tapos pag dinivide nyo na, identify nyo lang, ito yung gusto nating maging variable z. And if we do so, maganda kasi yung pagkakasetup ng Bernoulli's equation at yung ito ay pwede nating masulat as a constant times z prime. Okay? But don't worry, we'll have another example of Bernoulli's equation next meeting. Okay? Alright, medyo maraming tayong ginawa ngayon. Hindi lang 3 example katulad last time. Siguro I'll give you a break. Tama na muna yung homework or gusto nyo ba mag-homework? Sige, sinong gustong mag-homework? Parang wala. Gusto yung pahinga muna. Sige, sige, next week na lang ako magpapa-homework. Ano? So, ang homework na lang natin ay about Bernoulli's equation. Kasi yung Bernoulli's equation, sakop niya na yung integrating factor, di ba? Medyo mas matrabaho pa nga si Bernoulli kasi may substitution muna. Pero at the end of the day, it will reduce to the first order linear differential equation in a new variable. So siguro sa Tuesday, sa Wednesday, ibibigay ko na lang na homework ay yung kay Bernoulli. Ito yung gusto na break. Medyo humuhugot, ano. Akad break agad, nakaka-week 4 pa lang tayo, ah. Pero ang dapit na nga ng ano. Kailan ang exam natin? October 17, no? Tama nga ba? So medyo malapit na, tapos 1 week behind na ako. Sabihin ko na lang sa kabilang sections, huwag nilang bilisan kasi mabagal akong magturo kung departmental yung exam natin. Alright? So, kakausapin ko na lang sila. Kasi, yeah, sobrang bagal ko mag-solve. Siguro kung PowerPoint ginagamit ko, mabilis to kasi pindot lang ako ng pindot. Kasi nag-solve pa rin ako ng ano. Or mas gusto nyo ba yung ganito, na mano-manong solution? Or okay lang sa inyo na PowerPoint? Kasi kung PowerPoint, pipindot lang ng pipindot. Crystal, kung tamang pagkakaalala ko, October 17. Tama nga ba? October 17 ang midterms. At yun ay face-to-face. Double check ko nga. Yeah, it's October 17. It's the Monday before the reading break. Okay, mas gusto ko rin yung mano-mano kasi sa PowerPoint. Kahit ready na yung PowerPoint, yun nga yung ina-upload ko, mas gusto ko pa rin yun. No? Gusto ko pa rin yung mano-mano. Kaya medyo matagal tayo. No? Sabihin ko dun sa kabilang sections, wag nilang bilisan. Kasi nasa ano pa lang tayo, nasa Bernoulli's pa lang tayo sa Monday. Dapat tapos na by this week yung susunod na section kay Bernoulli. Pero yeah, we're a week behind. But I think that's fine. Mas okay na nakakasabay kayo kaysa sa mabilis yung discussion, okay? So if you don't have any more questions, probably I'll stop here. So we'll have or you'll have your mini ACAD break yung weekend. So try to relax over the weekend. Yan na, hindi na ako nagpa-homework pero hindi, may homework pala tayo. Yung homework 5, yung survey, kung gusto niyo lumipat sa face-to-face. Pero yeah, pero I don't see too much of a difference lalo na kung meron naman kayong internet, ano. Kasi nagmamano-mano rin naman ako ng solution, sa Blackboard ko nga lang 'to gagawin. May async yung ibang classes. yan yung yan yung hindi ko ginagawa sa mga synchronous classes. Kasi I think okay pa rin na may kausap kayo pag nagsosolve ng or nag-aaral ng math. Mahirap kasi na pag-aralan yan pag solo lang kayong nag-aaral. Binabasa ko nga yung sige, nagkukwentuhan na naman. But if you have classes, you can leave. Binabasa ko yung modules meron kasi akong grade 7 or 8 na kakilala. Tapos nagpapaturo minsan. Tapos binigay sa akin yung module niya ng geometry. Tapos hindi ko masagutan kasi hindi ko maintindihan kung ano yung nandun sa module. So I mean, kahit nandun na yung essence nung method, mahirap pa rin siyang gawin or intindihin, lalo na kung wala kang kausap. Lalo na kung first time mo siya gagawin. At least sana may nag-explain ng solution, alright? Parang ganito, may nag-explain, tapos saka nyo na siya practicein on your own. Pero parang kahit ako, nahihirapan ako kapag babasahin ko lang siya. So, ang ginagawa ko, babasahin ko siya, pero on the side, nagsosolve din ako. Tapos sine-explain ko sa sarili ko yung nangyayari. So parang ganun yung gusto kong gawin sa online. I mean, kung kaya kasing mag-synchronous, parang nililipat lang natin yung ginagawa talaga natin sa face-to-face classrooms in an online setting. Ang disadvantage nga lang, hindi ko nakikita yung mga itsura nyo. So number one, pag nakakasalubong ko sa LB, hindi ko alam kung nakwento ko na to sa inyo. Last week or 2 weeks ago, punta ako ng LB, tapos may mga nag-high na students. Siyempre, pandi-high din naman ako. Kaya lang, admittedly, hindi ko sila makilala. Number one kasi, naka-face masks. Tapos number two, ang nakikita ko lang sa Teams ay yung mga initials nyo. Meron, yung iba may mga DP, pero minsan yung mga DP hindi nyo nakamukha, So, hindi ko na namumukhaan. So, it's better na pag nakita nyo ako, say hi, tapos magpakilala kayo saka kung saan ko kayo student, Para naman magkakilala tayo bago tayo mag face-to-face. Hopefully, full-time next semester. Pero maganda pa rin yung online for me. Pero anyway, so sagutan nyo yung homework para malaman ko what you think, okay? So we'll end here. So I'll let you go and have your mini ACAD break. That's the weekend. So enjoy your weekend, guys, and let's see each other again on Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Thank you po, sir.
All right.